Hello everyone, this is Senior Biotech Analyst John Vandermosten. Welcome to our channel that educates the life sciences investor on exciting advancements in drugs, biologics, and devices. For more content and news like this, subscribe to our channel below and like or share with others. Data that's been released for Tiziana's SPMS patients has been very good so far. There will be a total of 10 expanded access patients that will be treated in this trial. But what's next for foralumab and SPMS? We welcome back Tiziana Life Sciences Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Matthew Davis. Dr. Davis, the company has announced plans to go ahead with a phase 2 trial in SPMS. When will it start?
We're going to submit the final protocol for non-acute secondary progressive multiple sclerosis this quarter. That's Q2 of 2023. We expect to have our first investigator meeting in Q3 of 2023. This is going to be a quick trial. We're looking at 3-month exposure of our drug in 2 different doses plus a placebo. Obviously, we're going to do a double-blinded study. And the goal is to see if we're going to take microglia from an activated and on state and reset it back to basically a non-activated or off state.
And how many subjects do you expect to enroll in this 3-month trial?
This should be a small trial. We're still working on our power analysis. An estimate would be roughly about 45 patients total, would be an estimate right now.
And I think that I read in one of the press releases that Tiziana has so far come up with a phase 2 protocol. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the trial will be designed?
So the trial, the main outcome measure is going to be looking at a baseline scan of the brain and looking at the activation of microglia, and then looking 3 months later, what does that scan look like with treatment of drug in 2 doses or placebo? We're also going to be looking at other outcome measures, all the clinical outcome measures that are expected in a multiple sclerosis trial, including all FDA-validated clinical outcomes, plus biomarkers, some of the newer biomarkers and all the biomarkers you would expect.
And I believe that MRI is used to measure the microglial activation, is that correct?
So no, it's actually going to be a PET scan. MRI is going to be used to look for active versus non-active multiple sclerosis. So in that case, the MRI will show a lesion. We don't have that lesion in the patient population that we're studying. By definition, they won't have an attack in the last 2 years, and that's what defines a non-active state. We will be using MRIs, though, to look at brain volume and see whether or not there's any change and if the brain is shrinking during the trial.
So assuming that the results from the trial are successful, and I assume they'll probably come out next year, what are the next steps, and could this possibly be considered a pivotal trial in terms of getting it for intranasal foralumab ultimately approved?
It's doubtful that this trial will be a pivotal trial, and our next step would be at least a year-long trial in which clinical outcome measures would be the primary instead of having a PET scan. So we would use clinically meaningful events. Traditionally, there are a couple events that the FDA has granted approval on. Now, depending on the results on phase 2B will depend whether or not that would be a pivotal trial. And that would obviously be a negotiation and a discussion, more importantly, with the FDA once we have safety and efficacy data to chat with them about.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Davis. Again, we've had the Chief Medical Officer of Tiziana Life Sciences with us in the studio to talk about the company's phase 2 trial in secondary progressive multiple sclerosis. Tiziana Life Sciences, ticker symbol TLSA.